The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Why, good evening, everybody. Wow. This is an impressive turnout. I think this is our biggest webinar ever. We're at 263 people and growing. So thank you all for attending. We're going to hopefully cover some topics that are obviously people are interested in. So we don't really have any slides for tonight yet. I may drag some stuff over, but this is this was put together very, very quickly today. I'm going to start with a couple of things that I want everybody to be clear on. Most of you know that I actually have many roles in the First World. I am the PNW District's chair. That covers Washington, Oregon, and Alaska. And I am also a member of the First Executive Advisory Board. I want to start by being very clear that tonight I am the PNW District Chair, and nothing that I am about to tell you is representing First. And I want to be super clear about that because it's entirely possible that you may hear, I might end up saying an opinion or something like that. I will be very explicit when I have confirmation about things from First, and I will otherwise you should assume that I am strict and not First globally. So please accept that explanation. I don't want there to be confusion about my capabilities or my my current purview. So all right. With that, I know that I haven't met a lot of you. My name is Kevin. On the line with us are various members of the organizing staff for the Pacific Northwest District. We have Adrian. Say hi, Adrian.
Hi, everyone.
All right. I'll just list the others. We have Amy Clapham, our volunteer resources manager from First Washington. I have Debbie Kerr from Oregon. Eric Van Buren is our field house supervisor in Washington. Jackie Grimm, who is our, among other things, she is our FLL program supervisor, but she's also heavily involved in the organization of the FRC district. And we do expect to see Robert Steele and a few others joining us here shortly.
Hey, Kevin, can I make a suggestion? I've already got a question, and my recommendation to everyone is why don't they let you talk through the things that you want to talk through first, because many of their questions might be answered. And then once you've gotten done talking, about what we do know, then we can certainly open it up to questions. Yeah,
that would be great. I think that's probably appropriate. I am also a team mentor of Team 4089, and I have the same questions that you guys did. And so let me try and organize my thoughts, and many of my questions would have been the same questions you had. So let me go through that. First of all, this has been an excruciating 9 days. For all of us who are trying to organize the district. So I want to start by just giving you a really quick overview of the timeline and how these decisions were made. As you know, on Monday, we announced the postponement of our FRC season. Let me rewind you. A week and a day from before then was our first meeting with First. We've been meeting with obviously with Frank and Chris Rake and Erica Fessia, and let me tell you that they have been absolutely awesome to work with, and we have been on the same page the entire time. They've been extremely accommodating and getting back to us as we were trying to plan contingencies on what to do if an event got canceled, what to do. There was a whole list of really what any other year you would have called crazy scenarios, but it turned out a lot of those crazy scenarios came to pass. So really honestly, my sincerest thanks to the entire FIRST staff for that. So starting a week ago Sunday, we were realizing that there was a possibility that events could be canceled, that teams wouldn't show up, and those sorts of things. And so we've been planning contingencies ever since the Sunday after the Sunday of Glacier Peak. Yeah, the Sunday of Glacier Peak. Yep. It seems like a month ago, honestly. From the get-go, we decided on a criteria by which we would consider canceling events and postponing the season. The basic scenarios are, we are not medical experts, we are not epidemiologists, we are going to rely on expert advice from the CDC, from the public health department for where these events are being held, and also taking cues from the school districts. So our bottom line was, if the CDC or the local health authorities said do not do an event, we would not. And if schools started canceling after school activities and sporting events, that would be another trigger point for us. So that's how our original trigger points were put in place. Things were looking good right up until Wednesday of this week, when so after Glacier Peak and after Clackamas had executed, we got word from we're monitoring, and the King County Health Department's website, and they suggested no large events, or that we, if feasible, cancel large events. And our board of directors from First Washington, in conjunction with the executives at ORTOP, started meeting very, very quickly. For the events in King County, the decision was made to cancel the based on local health department regulations, and then for West Valley, there were no such restrictions, plus teams had already been sort of headed out, and we did discuss this at length, and based on, again, on data from the people who know what they're doing, we allowed the West Valley event to continue. Great event, I had fun. Subsequent to that, on Wednesday and Thursday, we started seeing districts starting to cancel sports. So that sort of initiated yet another signal to us that there was no way we could do the Auburn High School event on week 5. And Adrian and I went through, again, a long set of contingencies, looking at all sorts of options, realized that Auburn was, according to our metrics, no longer a viable event. So we elected to cancel Auburn on Saturday, and we sent that notice out, I believe, on Saturday evening. The days are kind of fuzzy. I might be wrong off by day. And to make up for that, we were trying to keep the events rolling. We increased capacity at the remaining 4 events. Then Sunday happened, and we realized that, again, following the news, following the declaration of a state of emergency by the governor of Oregon, following the news that the governor of the state of Washington is considering stopping all large public gatherings by law, by emergency declaration. By Wednesday afternoon, we were looking at very doubtful whether we would be able to do our district championships. It was looking very doubtful that we would be able to continue all of our remaining district events, just the way things are developing. And we were also realizing that a lot of our teams were now ineligible to play based on district policies, and just sort of the prevailing winds of things made us come to the conclusion that it would be best for everybody, so that we didn't put people in harm's way or put them through the ringer trying to get permission to go to these various events, and to protect the health and safety of our volunteers and our students and their families, and to do our part to stop the spread of the virus. We decided to postpone the rest of the season. So, and that's what was announced yesterday. and hopefully you've all had an opportunity to see the note that we sent out. Please be rest assured we put a lot of effort into trying to figure out ways to keep this season going, but I think we have made the correct decision in light of things that have transpired even since then. So we know that it's an enormous disappointment for the teams. It's an enormous disappointment for us. But the health and safety of everybody involved, especially our students, our volunteers, and in an effort not to spread any viruses any further, we made the right decision. So now that I told you that sort of brings you up to speed. Hopefully you kind of get the feel for the fact that these were not easy decisions. There is no clear answer on any of this. A lot of this involves projecting the weird and funky data that we have about this right now. But again, we made this decision based on health departments, the CDC, school districts, and our trying to look in our crystal ball about what would be best for our students and our volunteers. I swear, just a couple more minutes of monologue, and then I'll hit things that would have been questions. The last contingency step that Adrian and I had been planning with first was a postponement until later in the year. This is going to cause a number of interesting things to develop that I will get to in a minute. But we believe, and things are looking good, we believe we would be able to complete all of the events, or maybe all of the events minus one, but we'll make one of them bigger or something. We do not actually at this point know the details of how we're going to pull this off, but I think over the course of the next week or two, we will be able to announce at least what we're planning to do. It involves a lot of logistics and a lot of getting venues aligned and getting a plan put in place that we feel we can actually implement. I'm sorry that we don't have an answer for that today. It's been what is 24? It's been like 31 hours, and honestly, Adrian and I needed to sleep really bad. This has been awful. So hang out with us. We will actually come up with answers to things. All right. There are some immediate things that that pop into mind about some immediate questions that we need to sort of deal with. One of them is Dean's List interviews for your students that have been nominated. We do not have, excuse me, full details or a plan fully fleshed out with FIRST, but let me tell you what our intention is and what we're working to do is we're trying to make it so that we will be able to do the Dean's List interviews remotely. Our hope and dream, and again, this is not confirmed with FIRST, but we're working on it. Our hope and dream is that we will be able to have our students recognized as Dean's List finalists and hopefully attend World Championships or not, we don't know. That is our plan. So yes, we are trying to move forward with the Dean's List process. We need a few days to work this out with the staff at FIRST. So I hope that at least gives you 31 hours later, this is what we got. So do not give up on your Dean's List students. We are not going to, and hopefully we'll have some good news for you coming up. Other questions are going to involve things like Chairman's Award. So let me explain a little bit more in detail what we're hoping to have happen with the continuation of the district. We believe that all current standings will remain in place. So if we've held 3 events, approximately 94 or 90, depending on how you look at it, 95 teams attended. That means 55 teams so 95 or so teams have played once, at least once. About 6 teams actually played twice. I think it was 6 or 7 teams, and 55 teams unfortunately did not get to compete at all. So in postponing the events, we do intend to have all of the judged awards be valid, and the judging chairmans and all the normal judging stuff will happen when we resume the events sometime in the fall. So in terms of awards, that's sort of where we're leaning. First, and things look pretty good for us to be able to recognize those teams at our district championship, and we are working towards that, earning them a spot in the following year's championship in 2021. That we are working towards that. Again, exact details sort of depends on what happens with the rest of the first world from here on out. But I did want to let you know we are considering those things. So all of the cultural awards, engineering inspiration as well, and rookie all-star, we do intend to be able to honor those teams in an appropriate way. The next probably biggest thing everybody wants to know is, what about advancements to Houston? And some of you have heard me say in the past that the district point system, when we created it, and I was honored to be able to help with that. We did take the eventuality of an event getting canceled and what would we do with those teams. And we had what we thought was a reasonable plan, which involved using their performance in the one event they did compete in to extrapolate a performance number for that would give them a full ranking in the district in the event that we had to cancel an event. Having said that, that was when Frank and I started discussing it in earnest. We realized that our plan did not really take into consideration teams who had not played. Our plan also didn't take into consideration such a large number of teams. And so I know that in the past, some of you heard me say that we had a plan for that. We are now working on a plan for that. This is totally front burner. It is being worked on, but at the moment I am unable to tell you a good answer for how that advancement is going to work. We are working to make sure that it's fair, that it is that it's fair and appropriate to the best of our ability. It's going to take us a little bit of time. I don't expect us to make I don't expect a decision to be made for probably at least a week. And so again, this is all 31 hours old, so we are actively thinking about it. We have lots of good ideas. We have ones that are based on data and plausibility and those sorts of things. So we appreciate everybody else's thoughts on this, but let us work through this and come up with a good proposal, and we'll present that to you. Yeah, go ahead.
Kevin, we have a question. Once the plans are fully developed, will they be released on Chief Delphi or another source? They will be emailed, and I'm sure that they will be posted on our website. We may have some information on Chief Delphi, but I think that you need to look to our website for all of the accurate information, because that is all put up specifically by us, whereas things can be posted to Chief Delphi that are not posted by us. So look to our website for the official information.
Yeah, and first we'll also be letting everybody know what's occurring. Hopefully everybody realizes this is completely new territory for us and for FIRST, and we're working through things that we never thought we'd ever have to work through. And so if it sounds like some of this stuff is being delayed, like, we're not trying to hide anything. We're just trying to be extraordinarily thoughtful to make sure that what we do here in the Northwest is still applicable in other areas of the country, so that the district system feels fair, and actually the whole FRC system feels fair.
Yeah, and one other question is, it talks about first in I think is FMA is planning. Yeah, thank you. Is planning on running the remainder events as non-public events. Was that considered? It certainly was. We're worried about our volunteers' health as much as our students' health. And so that was a large factor in our decision to postpone things. Was, yes, we can limit the public, but it really still requires the same number of volunteers, and we don't want to subject our volunteers to potentially getting sick, because our volunteers are so amazing. If we hold events, they will be there to make them go.
See the gray hairs? Yeah, that I'm sort of up towards the susceptible side of things. So, I'm just kidding. That was, but yeah, there are concerns from a number of volunteers for very, very valid reasons, and it's also sort of I understand what FMA is trying to do, and they don't have as big or as concentrated an outbreak as of the COVID virus. So I'm assuming that they're following the instructions of their local health departments. Our situation is a little bit unique. We have hypervigilance in our area, so I think that plus it looks like we're sort of ground zero for the United States. So I think that we actually did the right thing. I know that the other districts are trying very hard to keep their events going, and I don't have any information about their decision-making process or whether their stuff is good or bad, and I will make no judgments on that. So you may see other alternatives implemented in other areas. For the Pacific Northwest District, we feel that we have done the right thing. So we did, and boy, we've considered a lot of different stuff, and I think we came down on the right side of history here. Okay.
So we have a question that what would the plan for teams whose school district have replaced restrictions on travel? Example, Anacortes just informed us that we can't participate in any competitions until April 12th. Yep. So our makeup events, we're not looking at being able to run any this spring. So that and some of when they get scheduled will probably be dependent on when teams will be able to travel. But we'll keep you guys all posted. But we don't plan on scheduling anything until we feel comfortable that it'll be far enough out that teams will be able to participate.
And if I guarantee you, if we are still dealing with COVID-19 in September, the PNW district will be the least of our society's worries at that point, because that would be pretty ugly. Yeah.
We do have a very good question, though, about will graduated seniors be able to participate in the events if they are this fall? So do you want to take that one?
I will, and this was one of the contingencies that we explicitly talked first about, and I am happy to announce that yes, you will be able to participate this fall if you are valid to play in the season right now as a high school student. Even though you've graduated, you may play in the fall with us and fully participate with your team as the status of a team member and student. So, and First has agreed to that, and I think they made the right decision. Yeah.
What if, for some reason, a team is unable to attend the rescheduled events?
That's that will be up to you. We apologize if you're unable to attend. We're trying our best. This is this is, remember that this is actually. I want to remind everybody, First Washington is a large group of volunteers. I'm a volunteer. I'm not paid to do any of this, right? And we do have a staff, some paid staff, but the reality is that this is a large volunteer organization. We are doing our best to do what we can to support our community and to be able to make things up. If you are unable to participate in the fall, then that will be up to you. That'll be your decision, and we're very sorry about that. But these are these are extreme circumstances that we actually have no control over. This is just like the rest of the country, we're along for the ride on this one. So,
well, and I think it would be safe to say, Kevin, that when we do get events rescheduled, we'll have some sort of registration process, and we don't know what that's like. So if you were supposed to attend the Auburn Mountain View event and whatever that replacement event is conflicts with your schedule, you would be able to then move into another event. And I don't know what that looks like yet, but teams won't be locked into attending the events that they attended before. I've answered part of the question, but someone was asking with the beginning, if we have events in the summer or in the fall, does that mean new members will be able to attend? Can members join between now and then to be part of these events?
I have, yeah, absolutely. I mean, we don't really have a closed list as far as I'm concerned, as long as they're of appropriate age, and if you're bringing in new freshmen, there's no reason they couldn't, or incoming freshmen, we're good with it. The makeup of your team is up to you, as long as you follow the the consent release and age restrictions. Yeah.
And if teams can't attend a makeup event, will they be reimbursed for the event cost?
Oh, yeah. So I could read you a very corporate sounding statement about this, but I'll just be quite upfront and frank with you. The reason that, if you look at the payment terms, event cancellations are not, we're unable to refund things for, and that if you look on the FIRST website, I can't remember the exact verbiage, I can look it up, but it basically says that if events are canceled for things outside of our control, we're unable to give refunds. And let me give you an explanation of why. We are a very nonprofit, and we collect the fees in order to be able to run the district. Some of the about half your fee ends up going to FIRST, a little under half maybe, and then the rest is used to pay for things in our district. At this point, we have the money that you have given us has already been spent, and so we do not have the financial power to be able to handle refunds at this point, because the money's been spent and it's just gone. We don't have it. And I know that that's a huge, that could be a huge thing for all of us. It's one of the reasons that we really want to be able to fulfill our mission in the fall. But this virus thing has knocked us for a huge loop, and quite frankly, we would love to be able to redress that, but we just don't have the funds to do it, folks. I'm so sorry about that. It is a risk that it's a risk that we all took. My team won't get their money back either. So I just wanted to kind of let you know that more on a personal level, rather than reading you some sort of canned message. FIRST is actually in the same boat, right? Your registration fee went to pay for an enormous amount of materials. What are we spending the money on? We're spending the money on fields, and FIRST as well. They have a whole staff that engineers the fields, ships things around. That's all very expensive. You've seen the field this year. There's a lot of very expensive components in one of those things, and that's where, so that's what I mean. Your money's been spent. We spent almost all of the money just getting to the point where we can actually run the event. The actual cost of the individual events is still there and still substantial, but it's actually a minority of the funding. The rest of it went to logistics and salaries, administrative overhead, and those sorts of things. So if we tried to give refunds, that would be the end of FIRST in the state of Washington and Oregon. We just we would be bankrupt, completely bankrupt. We're, as we are right now, we're running a pretty decent deficit. And so I hope so we're kind of all in this together, honestly. Again, the majority of us are volunteers. Our board of directors are volunteers. We just have a small paid staff to help run the events, both in Washington and Oregon. And that's just the bottom line of where we are. I hope you all can understand that. And there are also, I know that you guys have placed your trust in us to be able to do these events and to be good stewards of the resources that you've given us. This is going to sound really weird, but we also trusted you guys to, actually pay the POs that have been issued. And one of our biggest concerns at the moment actually is there are a number of schools who have not actually made good on their purchase orders yet. And we really ask that, the teams who haven't paid yet, there is sort of an agreement for you to pay to play, and we were trusting that you would do that. So we were normally most other areas would have collected the money and not allowed you to play if you hadn't paid. Maybe bad business practices on our part, but some of you have still outstanding POs, and we really need your help to collect those things, because it is a large number and we're big risk of not being able to do first ever again. This is kind of the bottom line. So thank you for your gracious professionalism in agreeing to fulfill your obligation on those purchase orders. That being said, it is our intent to fulfill the season, even though it is a suboptimal season. We recognize that. And we are going to give your students the play and your teams the experience that we've all wished would happen now, but we just unfortunately have to postpone it.
So Kevin, I want to kind of go over a couple of questions that are kind of lumped together. One, I'm getting a couple questions about the district play and district championships. So basically our goal is to make up the events that were postponed. The events that were played, those points will stand, and that would culminate in a district championship event that the teams move on to. So we're delaying some of it, but the goal is to continue the season. Another question, and I don't think that we can answer this, but it's something important that I think we need to check into. I'm getting questions about OSPI funds. So will those carry over to next year, or for the teams that didn't participate, how is that going to work with those funds, since you need to compete in order to use those funds? So that's something that.
And my guess is that ODE, which is the Oregon equivalent, probably has the same thing.
Yeah, so we should probably check into that. I think our organization and ORTOP can check into that and see what we can find out.
It would be my hope that these both states would say, good job for following the plan and canceling your events, and yes, you may use that next year. That's my hope and dream. That's what we'll ask for. It
sounds like Aaron has an answer to the OSPI one. So Aaron, you're welcome to unmute yourself. You're a panelist, so feel free to unmute yourself, and we would love to hear what you have to say.
Great, thank you, everyone. So I have been in touch with OSPI, and I don't have an answer. I've made that request. The only challenge is this is tied to an annual budget. So typically, if the funds are not used, we lose. But these are unique circumstances. So give us a couple of days to get a firm response. I do echo Kevin's comment. I think they are very supportive of our decision in terms of postponing the season.
Yep.
Cool, thanks. Okay, we're getting a lot of questions about championships. I know we don't have really any information, but do you just want to address whether or not we have any information on championships being postponed or canceled?
we have no information about championships being postponed or canceled, and I will just share that the people working on this at First are extraordinarily thoughtful about it, and I know that they are meeting this week trying to figure out whether to go or not go. And so if it was me, I would not book any tickets yet. I think that the decision will be made in this week. That not booking tickets yet means they still plan on doing it, but there's a possibility that they won't. So my guess is that within the next week, a go no go decision gets made. The logistics of those two events are so huge that they really can't wait any longer than that. So while we have no information whether they're going to or not going to, I would expect that decision to be made pretty soon. And that is purely my opinion. I have no information from First on it.
So will we have a summer stop build?
We will not. I have talked to Frank about it, and at this time, subject to change, obviously, but no, I don't think, I see no reason why we can't keep the out of bag time.
And someone was asking,
silver lining the whole thing. Can you, if you guys have another 6 months to work on your robots, oh my God, our district championship is going to be epic. Just saying. Silver lining.
So will there be enough of a timeline to get district approval, hotel reservations, and PO processes? I think we can do yes. Regarding travel, I'm guessing for district events. And, you know, I would like to say in a month or so, we'll have a very good timeline or idea of our timeline. And even though some things might be tentative, I think that we'll be able to give you all an idea of when we're looking to reschedule those events for. So you should have plenty of time to make those arrangements before this season ends. And Heidi Sight brought up a good point about school budgets. I recognize that the school's budgeting generally goes July through June, and I don't necessarily have a good answer for how that affects your budget if we don't hold events until fall. But I would be proactive and reach out to your school district and see if there's a way that they can potentially work with you under the circumstances. If we get some great ideas, we can certainly share them with the teams. But that's a very good question, and I don't have an answer to that.
So you know, one strategy I think for teams to think about is are there things that you can reallocate expense-wise to use up your OSPI or ODE budgets before June 30th by recategorizing some things, and then use your private fundraising funds for the remainder of the season. That's and again, I have no information, but that would be my first approach, is to try and see if the district or whoever it is that's in charge will allow you to, like, say, pay off all your registration fees and any robot expenses that you've already had using up your state grant money, and then leave your private money to pay for the rest of it. That's a potential solution. And again, I don't know the administrivia of each individual district, but that's what I would go with, or at least try.
And one question is, will these events replace the off-season events in the fall? Very possibly. One of the things that I have done is I've reached out to the hosts of some of our off-season events and asked if they would be willing to make their event a full district event in lieu of their off-season event. So nothing's set in stone yet, but that is a thought. Because that comes with a group of people that can run the event and host it, and with a group of volunteers who already generally support it. So that certainly is a consideration.
Great question from Kim. Kim Markham has asked, how will the Woody Flowers award process be executed for this year for our district? the woody flowers, we haven't heard a firm answer on this, but I will tell you that the woody flowers awards are actually judged by the actual woody flower national award winners. I have no information about them stopping that process, and so my guess is that that will continue on. And if we so they are the ones that determine our district championship Woody Flowers Award finalist, and my guess is that we may end up announcing that about the right time frame, and that person would be eligible to win the National Woody Flowers Award. That is my guess. It's kind of independent of our events. Somebody asked. Well, first of all, thank you to everybody who is thanking us in the comments. We really do appreciate that. Will my volunteer application be moved to the competition date, or do I need to volunteer again later on? Christian, thank you so much for asking that. I'm going to guess that we will probably notify you that when the event is rescheduled, and we'll probably have you sign up for that, because all of the event details will be different. So Amy, do you have any thoughts on that? I'm assuming I was about right on that. You can unmute yourself, by the way. Or she's having a glass of wine and doesn't care. I'm not sure which. Just kidding. Well, she might not have a microphone. So anyway,
and we might have to talk with FIRST about that, because sometimes the volunteer registration system isn't up and running that early in the fall. So Kevin, that's something that you and I might need to chat with FIRST about and make sure that that system is up and working so our people can volunteer.
Thank you for bringing up yet another thing that we didn't think of. So there are lots of them. Sorry about that. So Jennifer has pointed out that the first dashboard shows the Sun Dome was postponed to 6/1/20. That is not a confirmed date. That is, we told them to postpone, and they probably just picked a date out in the future until we tell them when it is. So that is not a confirmed date. That is a placeholder, and Adrian will probably follow up with FIRST tomorrow and have them push that way farther out so that people don't think that we're about to have another event.
Yes, and actually I believe currently it says all of our events are canceled on at least somewhere on the FIRST website. That was pointed out to me, and I've reached out, and hopefully that will be fixed in the morning, but it is, you know, they have not been canceled, they have been postponed.
Yes. Hey Adrian, can you check off a few that I've answered already? I'm sorry, I wasn't paying attention to it, and now there's a lot.
Yeah, they don't get checked off unless I type an answer to them.
Just put X. All right.
Yeah.
Life's good. So they have scrolled. I apologize. Some of you asked questions that have scrolled up off the screen, and I'm going back real quick. So
yeah, I'm
gonna because some teams are not being able to robots because after school activities are being restricted. Can teams work on the robots now? Yes, there is no bag date. And that was actually asked several times. So at the moment, there are no restrictions on you continuing to work on your robot. Yay. Tracy asked, does that mean paying again for rescheduled events? No, it does not. It is our intent to finish our season. You have already paid us for that, and is our intent to fulfill that agreement with you. We just have to postpone it for obvious reasons. Jerry, many grants and funders require participation in events. If you are having any issues with a grantor or funder about not participating on time or such, will you please contact either Aaron McCallum or David Perry, and let's see if we can work with those donors and funders to make sure they understand that it was not you, this was us. All right. Does that make sense to you, Aaron?
Absolutely. Happy to develop some language, and Adrian can share it out so that teams can be reassured with their donors and sponsors.
Absolutely. Thanks.
Yep. All right. And Chris.
Someone's asked. Oh, go ahead. You go ahead and answer Chris's question, and then I have one.
So Barudi's question.
Whatever question.
No events.
No.
Okay. Yeah. So Chris has asked the question to confirm no events until after summer. Let us put an asterisk on that, please, Chris. I think one of the things that we may need everybody's help with is we may send a survey out to the lead mentors in the event that we try and figure out what schedule works best for everybody, and whether we are okay to schedule some things in August. And this is a data collection problem. I want to leave us some options, especially if teams if a lot of teams are going to have troubles doing things in September. We'd love to be able to accommodate them. So we'll modify our language a little bit. We don't expect anything to happen before the end of July, honestly. And whether it's August, September, or October, give us a little flexibility there. We don't have a plan worked out. So, but we will try and accommodate. We realize that a lot of schools are just not in session and not available to do things in August. And we 100% understand that, and we will try and give everybody opportunities to work either way.
So I'm getting asked about teams attending regionals. Can teams register for a regional this spring?
The answer is yes. If you would have to pay a second play fee, I guess it's called, in first. I think it's $4,000, and then you would be able to attend a regional. I would sign up quick. There's a lot of events. By the way, in case not everybody's up on the details, there have been a lot of event cancellations across the country, and I only see that growing. But I believe Boise is still running week 5 as of right now. I don't have any information that doesn't say that, and there are some California events still running, and the Northern Arizona event was canceled. I don't know what's going to happen with the Phoenix event, if it's been canceled or not. So your mileage may vary trying to get into a regional event.
I have a question about any thoughts about teams who registered for a third qualifying event. I think that we're going to have to play that by ear. Obviously, our highest concern is getting teams to be able to play 2 events. I don't necessarily have an issue with those teams that had registered and paid for a third event playing a third time, but we'll probably have to hold off answering that question until we get a better idea of how many events we'll have and what events teams are registered for.
And it may turn out that we might be asking teams to come do a third play to fill some events. We don't know. We'll find out. Super exciting.
So I went through and I X'd most of them that we had.
So yes, let me clear up. I believe that we ended up with at least 20 people who weren't here at the very beginning. So I'm going to answer Randy Wheeler's question. Yes, Randy, the district championship has been postponed. We expect it to happen in the fall. We are being a little bit wiggly on exactly when that's going to be, because the good news is that things look promising on our being able to schedule some events, and so we're excited. And I think Adrian has sounded a little relieved that it's so many places are accepting of the fact that we had to cancel and are doing their best to help us out. Very much appreciate all of our venues. Yeah. So give us a few more days to get some things finalized, and we'll keep communicating with everybody to let you know what we've learned.
Oh, and we have another good question, and I don't know that we have an answer, but it's certainly something we've thought about. Will 2020 rookies be considered rookies in 2021 if they are not able to compete in any rescheduled events?
Super awesome question. And I have not posed that question to Frank yet. I got that question, I think, this morning, and I think it is a great question. And I will lobby for it, and I think that FIRST will likely agree, but I need to, that is on the, I would like to see that happen personally, and I think our district would like that to happen. I do not speak for FIRST on that, so I need to talk with FIRST, and we'll see what we can do about that. I think it's a very fair and good idea. Okay, so and we've gotten a couple of repeat questions about how do we determine the teams that will advance to Houston. I kind of went over that in a great deal of detail earlier. I was one of the first things that happened in the first 15 minutes. The fastest way to answer it is don't know yet. We are working on it. That was from Patrick. Thank you, Patrick, for the question. Don't know. Ari has asked a very good question. Will the postponed season have the same space between events, i.e. will they be in sequential weeks? Ari, great question. Don't know the answer yet. Stay tuned. We should know relatively soon on that. The orders of those events may change, and honestly, some of the locations are likely to change. So we are attempting to do things in geographically equivalent places, and we don't have full answers yet, but things are looking good. We'll be pretty close. Okay.
So one question will be that will there be any game updates, rule changes beyond World Championships within the PNW?
We do not. I don't foresee that happening. That would be a FIRST thing. We are going to follow the FIRST rules. I know that there are some off-season events like RRI and Cheesy Champs that change the rules. We do not have any plans whatsoever to change the rules. If FIRST changes some rules, my guess is that they're going to be administrative rules, such as who's eligible to play at with seniors and stuff, and a lot of them may be temporary rulings just for our event, but I don't believe that we're going to change the gameplay at all. Hope that made sense. Anthony has asked, would next season's kickoff date be affected? Anthony, I do not believe so. I have no information about any changes to kickoff, and I would be super surprised if there were. Early fall, yes, Christine, yeah, I feel your pain. Everybody realize I am also a mentor. I'm also an FTC mentor. Early fall, hopefully, so it doesn't conflict with the FTC and FLL seasons. We're with you on that. And so we definitely think about those sorts of things since we run those programs as well. And we do have a limited staff size. So we're well aware of that. So thank you for that. Are the two events that were canceled still going to happen in the fall? Yes. We will have replacement venues for Auburn Mountain View and Auburn. Where exactly they play, we do not 100% know, but you can consider our canceled events to be now qualified as postponed. We do intend to run all of them. Okay.
Oh, go ahead. I'm getting a question about STIMS. Usually STIMS is not up and running by September. Will that be different this year? I think that we can say we're going to be flexible with that. If you print off your rosters for the current season, I think we'll talk with FIRST about that, just like the volunteer management system. But
thank you for thinking that. We didn't think of that either.
I hadn't thought about that.
And again, I appreciate all of we have lots of comments here thanking us for things, and you make me feel a lot better, and I'm sure you make all of us feel a lot better. It is a it has been a trying week.
Yes, it has. I got a question about district championship. Will it be within the same region? I can say that I'm currently talking with Eastern Washington University. So my plan, just so you guys understand, to book a venue that is large enough to hold district championships usually has to be done a minimum of a year in advance. And so Eastern Washington University feels very badly for us and is wanting to work with us. And that is where we're currently going to look to go. And that could really drive a lot of the decision as to when we hold events, is their availability. But plan for it to be in Cheney.
Yep, and thank you very much to Eastern Washington University for being so accommodating to us. That was one of our biggest sweats, is where the heck are we going to hold the district championship, because we need a pretty big building for that. And so, yay, it's good to have you guys are sought after, and we get good support. All right.
Yes.
What happens? So Tyler has asked, what happens if the coronavirus is still an issue in 4 months' time? Tyler, I don't know. You've asked a completely valid question. Don't know. If it's still an issue in August or September, well, we will just, that's so far away, we're going to need to address it then. I don't know what would happen, honestly. I hope not, honestly, Yep. For teams who have already done an event, submit for award, would that submission be carried over to their rescheduled event, or would they have to resubmit? Same thing for district champs. So Ethan, our plan is that our season is still running. We just threw a 6 weeks hiatus and everything. So we believe all of our points, and all of our judge stuff will continue forward, just like, well, if we had a week off, that'd be one thing. We're going to take 6 months off. So, but everything should still run as is. Okay.
I'm getting a lot of teams asking about building or not building over the summer, and talking about fairness and how is that fair that some teams get to build and others don't. I want to say we're doing the best we can. We've been thrown a curve just like you. What I would recommend is get to know the teams nearby you. I know that there's a lot of teams that will have access to their build space. And so what I recommend is maybe reaching out to some of those teams and trying to work together, because maybe some of them will have some space or have some tools or have things that you don't. Unfortunately, we can't control what the schools allow teams to do. Hopefully, if you reach out to them under the circumstances, they're going to be willing to be flexible with you and help you out. But I promise you that teams around you, if they have the ability to work, they will absolutely be flexible and be willing to help out their neighbors. So that is what I would recommend.
So we got a couple other detailed questions, and then I have a couple of other comments, and then we'll call it a wrap on this thing. So where was that question? James has asked, for events in the fall, would you be able to include chairman's stuff that you did over the summer? I have no reason to believe why you couldn't. We have no specific rules on that, but yeah, I would. Thank you for all your work. Thank you so much, everybody, for the kind comments.
It says, will there be any duplicate locations across multiple weeks? I think for the makeup events, it'll probably be fairly similar to what we currently do. We can run 2 events at once. Again, it'll depend on the venues that we're able to get, but it won't be more than 2 because we have 2 fields. But I would expect that the events will be in multiple locations on the same weekends.
Gary Suter has asked, will First Walk contact main donors who send funds to them directly for registration, such as Boeing and DW Fritz, those sorts of folks, to let them know about the postponement and see how they want to handle the funding? Erin, can you take that one?
Sure, happy to. So the Boeing funding actually goes through the national organization through FIRST. So we're working with FIRST on all of that. Any of the other funders that your team has received, send a note to me, Erin@firstwa.org, and I'll work with you on a case-by-case scenario to make sure that that is taken care of. Thank you for the question.
Yeah.
And oh, go ahead.
I was going to say I would be super surprised if they would withdraw. I can't imagine anybody disagreeing with what's going on. So I think you're probably safe, but you check with Erin, they'll work it through.
So I got asked if we'll have another team briefing in the next 30 days or so. And I think once we have some more information that we can give you guys, we will absolutely have one or even, a couple more team briefings to be able to chat with you and go over some of the details.
Victoria has asked a very straightforward question, and thank you, Victoria, for asking, because that's our friends, the Nerds of the North, and they are in Alaska. If a team can't make it to 2 district events, can they go to 1 and have their points count double, as discussed after the Auburn canceling before the events got postponed? Victoria, that is a completely valid question. I will, in these extreme circumstances, I believe that what you're talking about is what the district backup point system was for. I need to talk it through with Frank, but I'm guessing that that's probably what would happen. Yeah. Again, there are several remaining questions about details about the qualifying points for district championships and for Houston. So let me I'll just preface by saying, for district championships, your district ranking points are valid. For Houston, again, like I said earlier, the Houston points need to be, we're working on that. I do not have an answer for you. We are trying to give you a good answer, not a fast answer. So Frank and I will talk about this extensively for the rest of the week. And it's going to be at least a week, is my guess, before we actually have an answer to it. We want to run a bunch of scenarios to make sure that it's fair to everybody. All right.
So someone said, would it be possible to provide a field for practice matches before the delayed season starts?
Thank you so much for that question.
Possibly, and this is actually coming from Paul Moen down in Oregon, possibly, and maybe even potentially both in Washington and Oregon. We certainly have some schools that have reached out to us. In Washington, we have our field house. In Oregon, we have some places that have offered help, and we might be able to get a practice field in each location. So that's something that we will certainly work on and let everybody know as we get more information.
So with that, I think there are a couple of really good questions still left, but I don't want to let this drag out for too much longer. I do want to address a couple of things before we adjourn for the night. This is not the first time that we've faced adversity in the first world. This is a big one. This is the biggest we've ever had. But I think one of the really amazing strengths of our first community is its resilience and our ability to work together to get things done. So gracious professionalism is going to be the key to keeping all of this running. Having said that, I'd love to see, when it's safe, when we get the all clear for teams to be thinking about doing scrimmages in the off season, over the summer if possible. We will there are a couple of practice fields in buildings in various places. I do not know what the status of those will be over the summer. We will see what we can do about providing opportunities for teams to come do scrimmages or additional off-season events. Reach out to the teams around you. Let's keep our community going. We missed our big social event of the year, and for that I feel really bad. But I think that once we get clearance from our health authorities, I think that it would be lovely for teams to come together and work together and practice together in preparation for the events coming up in the fall. And we would love to help with those things, but honestly, we kind of need some teams to step up into leadership roles and sort of organize those things, because we need it to be a little bit more regional so that people can travel easier, and we don't want to try and do really big events, off-season events in the summer, because we will be focused on gearing up for the continuation of our season. So think about that. Also, we have what do we have, 10 rookie teams, Adrian?
We have 9 rookie teams.
9 rookie teams?
Yeah.
I feel awful for our rookie teams. They had a purely crappy experience this year. Most of them didn't get to play. And I would really appreciate teams, again, when we get clearance to be able to do these things, trying to reach out to those rookie teams and sort of make them a part of our community. They missed the biggest miss for them. They got to build the robot, but they didn't get the experience of you people. We didn't get the gracious professionalism of being around FIRST people. And we really would love for us all to be able to reach out to our rookie teams and make them feel like a part of the community that they are. And we need help with that. And so I think that your team and your gracious professionalism is really sorely needed there. So Robert Steele, our senior mentor, is going to be reaching out and helping them. And I'm going to put Robert on the spot. Robert, is it okay if teams would like to do something with the rookies for them to contact you?
Yeah, somebody, I guess I'm unmuted. Sure, that's great. I would love to see maybe a mini rookie competition by itself during the summer or some other time. So yes, if anyone is interested in doing that, please reach out to me or anyone else for that matter, and then they'll get to me, and we'll see what we can do.
And Robert, what's a good email address for you?
rsteele@firstinspires.org.
And again, Robert is, well, most everybody knows who Robert is, but Robert is a long time FIRST mentor from the Skunk Works, and he's now senior mentor in our area for FIRST. And he will be a great resource for everybody to help coordinate some help for the rookies. I think it would be epic if we did have that event and we held it in a venue big enough for lots of teams to show up and cheer them on. I think that would be really cool.
Hey, Kevin, I'm getting questions about like a Q&A. I believe that we were going to try and put a Q&A on our website, and we can certainly email that to coaches. Also, I'm already in the question box getting a bunch of teams reaching out saying that they have a practice field in the area or their shop will be open. And so what we might be able to do is do something on our website where teams can if you have a space available or can help, we can post your information so those around you can reach out. But we'll work on that, and we'll notify teams once we have something like that up for them.
And we will come up with a. I realized I was to say, oh, you should go to our fill in blank. I would say use our Facebook page, but that's probably not appropriate. Give us a day or two, and we'll figure out an appropriate medium for this and other questions. Ari had asked that question earlier.
Hey,
and
Yeah, Robert, will you type your email in the chat for people? I have some people asking about your email address again, so if you would just put it in the chat to everyone, that'd be great. And yes, I've had a couple questions. We will post this webinar up on our website, and I'll send a link to the teams, and you can forward that on to anyone after it gets posted.
All right. Well, with that, thank you, everybody. You know, we're all in this together. My team is just as, and myself and our staff, this is a huge disappointment. It is we are pretty steadfast that we've made the right decision. Of course, you know, when you make a decision like this, you always run the risk that you were dead ass wrong and the COVID thing goes away next week. We really don't think that was going to happen. The experts didn't think that was going to happen. And so, you know, part of us, we had to make decisions based on experts and such. So I believe we've made the right decision. We are going to work very hard to make sure everybody has a quality experience with FIRST, and to keep our community strong and thriving, and also keep our community healthy and be a part of the outreach or of the global solution to this. I will end with if there is a website called, or there's a YouTube channel called, I think it's 3 Blue 1 Red or something along those lines. If you have, or on my Facebook, check it out. It is got an extremely good video that explains the math behind the epidemiology of this thing, and did a better job than any paper or anything I've seen of showing why it is that we're limiting contact and limiting the mixing. And it also describes the how even just a small change in behavior can reduce the number of infections by huge orders of magnitude. And as I recall from the video, the number went from 53 million people infected, which was a plausible but bad case. And just by changing the very small amount of change in the number of people that intermingle and are exposed to each other, plus the you know, washing your hands and stuff, drop that to like 431,000, which is still a huge number. But you would be surprised at what small things like us canceling these events do to the scope of this potential outbreak. So I'm very, very confirmed in my brain that we did the right thing. So thank you. Yay. I think we're done. And we look forward to hearing from you and seeing you all soon. And I stopped the recording. I think I did.